Welcome to the woods. It's an absolutely beautiful day. Sky's blue, sun shining, and I'm sat in a little grove in the shade of a Douglas fir and a silver birch, and it's very green out here today. And I thought I'd make this video touching on a couple of things. In the job I do, there's obviously a whole load of other people in the same industry. And some of them are very good, and some of them not so. And some of them are nice, and some of them are not. And I was reading through the comments that a chap in the same industry as me, and he seems to derive great pleasure from slagging off other people and competitors. And his work's good. I like it. But I wouldn't want to know him. Nearly every social media post he puts up is ripping someone to pieces, tearing someone down, pointing out the fault in others. And I always wonder what it is people like that derive from being nasty. And maybe it's because they're insecure in either themselves or their own work, and feel that the only way they can show themselves in a positive light is to tear others down, is to point out the fault in others. But it doesn't engender them to the public. They end up looking nasty, negative, and that can leave a sour taste. And I understand that there's a lot of stuff that goes on in society and in this country which isn't good. I get that. I think if you're watching this video, you probably understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that are wrong, and there's a lot of bad things that happen. But if we only concentrate on the negative, it leaves a bad taste in anyone who comes into contact with us. If all we ever do is point out the fault, point out the bad, people will want to avoid us. And that's not what I want. That's not what I want for myself. And that's not what I would want for people around me. I'd kind of like to think that people want to spend time with me, that they're interested in what I've got to say, and that I could actually make them feel better about either themselves or the situation. And I'm not sure that dwelling wholly on bad and negative aspects does any good. And I understand that it may be important to point these things out, But I think that needs to be balanced. And that needs to be balanced with a positive. If you're going to point out something that's going wrong, you really should have an answer to that. Something positive. And I was watching Keith Wood's latest video on neo-tribalism and how things could pan out as civilization declines, if civilization declines. And it was interesting. And there was a paragraph in there. There was a conflict which kind of echoes what I'm saying here. And on the one hand, it was pointing out that the most common thing for people to do is to say that this is wrong and that is wrong and we don't want this. When in reality, it would be much better to say, this is what we want and this is how it could be. And you see this a lot in politics, especially coming up to things like general elections or even council elections, where either party will spend months continually slagging off the other party, pointing out all the things they haven't done, pointing out all the things they will do that will go bad. But very rarely do they offer you a picture of what it is they're going to do. That old sales technique seems to have gone by the wayside. And I remember talking to my dad, who was a salesman, about sales techniques years and years ago. And he explained it by saying, you don't sell the sausage, you sell the sizzle. And what he meant was, if you're going to get people to buy your sausages, you're not going to do it by selling the sausage, by explaining to them that it's a tube of animal intestines stuffed with all the offcuts, nostrils, eyelids, bits of tail, ground down bone meal, stuffed inside these bit of intestine, and you can eat that, and that'll be lovely, because not many people are going to buy it. But he said what you do is you sell the sizzle. You get them to imagine that hot frying pan with a little bit of butter in there, and you put the sausages in, and you get that smell of frying meat, pork and beef, a little bit of seasoning. And then as you're moving them around and those sausages are going brown and the smell's getting stronger, and when they're finally done and you've managed to fry them off without splitting the skin, and you put them on the plate and you cut into that meaty sausage and put it into your mouth, and the smell and the taste, and that is what gets people to buy your sausages. And I think what we're doing at the moment is trying to sell people the sausage and not the sizzle. Because we know things could be better. But maybe we should put forward that positive vision. Because that's important for people to see. They're much more inclined to want to get involved with anything that shows them a positive vision of how things could be, and not just pointing out how bad things are. Anyway, it's a beautiful day, and I'm kind of surrounded by things like bluebells. And if you come with me, I want to show you my rhododendron. But you never thought it was going to turn into a horticultural show, did you? But these are quite incredible, and they just come into bloom about this time of year, and they're quite lovely, aren't they? And the place is full of them. And they were brought over to this country in the 17th century for a stately home that's about 6 or 7 miles from here. And they spread massively. And they grew here because they had everything they wanted. Everything they could need to grow was here, provided for them. Some of them are up to about 80 foot. And as much as they're an invasive foreign species, if you keep them under control, you can enjoy them for what they are. So I've cut a load back. I've got none up the front by the chickens, mainly because we're going to get some goats up there, and they're poisonous to goats. But I've kept some. I've kept a lot. And they're beautiful. I love them. They make the place look nice. Anyway, you lot, I'm off. See you later.